when I was in DC, I gave a shout out to Misty Winston because she's been pushing these journalists and other personalities that have a big following to talk about Julian Assange because there's an urgency there. This is going to affect all of us if we don't have the freedom to deliver information to people and to inform the public with the truth. Then we're all going to be misinformed, and these powers, these powers that be are going to have more control over us, and they can arrest anybody for exposing the truth. So there's something that I wanna put out there for everybody because I was just absolutely disgusted with this, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So Misty, she tagged a lot of people. She tagged a lot of people, but here in this particular tweet, she's talking to Ken Klippenstein. She said, "Hey there, Ken Klippenstein. I'm curious why you aren't speaking out for Assange. Seems like this should be a no-brainer issue for someone like you, since he's a journalist. He's a journalist that works for The Intercept. So happy to be wrong, but I could only find 3 tweets from you. Surely you see how important this is. All hands are on deck. Hashtag free Assange." And then he replies to her and says, "Just to make you mad." So completely minimizing the seriousness of the situation here, where a man, a journalist who exposed war crimes that the U.S. committed, is being tortured right now, and has been gone after for 10 years. He had to hide in the Ecuadorian embassy. Like, this guy made that sacrifice so that we can be informed. And then shout out to Independent Left News. He replied and said, "Ken Clips, what the fuck, man? 10 years a man is being tortured for doing your job." Well, not really, I guess. And then Anything for Smile said, "Why such a nasty response for someone who literally started at the bottom doing the same thing as Assange, and you still do? Not gonna lie, Ken, that's pretty disappointing to see a friend of whistleblowers not aiding a comrade." So I personally think that it's diminishing the seriousness of what's going on right now. It's absolutely disgusting, and I'm disgusted by the over 2,000 people that liked his tweet. But what do you guys have to say about this?
We did, by the way, had a lot of work done on the house. Had a little sewage issue, and she doesn't want me to talk about that, which I want. It's kind of like what's happening to our country. It's backing up. The sewage is coming out, and it's getting bad. We gotta fucking become our own plumber and learn our own thing. Yeah, it's Julian. Okay, Julian Assange is the representative of free speech. If that guy goes down, then they can do that. We, our wonderful country that I helped fight for those rights, the freedom of speech. That's one of the greatest reasons why I joined the Navy was freedom of speech, freedom of privacy, freedom, Second Amendment, all these things, which I think are important for people to have. I mean, these are things that we all fought for, that we keep fighting for, and she gets that part, which I think is good with Tulsi. I think that's great, and she wants to pardon Snowden as well. But the thing is I am with these people that are. I mean, Associated Press. They're in their pockets are overly stuffed with donations and money and advertising coming from the military industrial complex, big pharma, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? NPR, same thing. PBS, same thing. BBC, same thing. MS, all of them. So those people are no longer journalists. They're not, and they should not be considered journalists because they're biased. Once you become biased, you become a pundit for a particular group, faction, or in a sense, these days it seems like a cult. So the thing about Julian and the thing about others that are out there, the whistleblowers, they actually care. They actually see the wrong. They sense it. I don't know. His parents were great. Snowden's parents were wonderful. Whatever, or they grew up in a really good village where people cared about each other and took care of each other, and were concerned about each other's livelihoods and stuff like that. And And these people are decent, good people that are trying to do what is best, not just for themselves, but everybody else, that their neighbors, their family, their friends, their fellow citizens, etc. And these people that call themselves journalists that are not fighting like up in arms, the ones that haven't mentioned him or kind of mentioned him, or maybe said, oh, he's having a hard time, and that's about all they'll say. They've been bought, they've been sold, they're not who they say they are. The biggest point I want to make in regards to Julian Assange, and I nobody asked this question, who has the keys to the WikiLeaks castle after if he goes down? I mean he is such a threat to the predator donor class and this new corporate draconian corporate governance that is happening now in government that's being built around us, that he is such a threat. I mean, I don't want to be skeptical here, but I don't really see that guy like, oh, you know what? Fuck it, let him come out so everybody can start blowing the whistle on fucking on this flu shit or this jab, right? I just, the thing is if he goes away, who do we trust? Who's going to take over WikiLeaks that'll sacrifice over a decade of being basically tortured and jailed and imprisoned? Who would do that? If you can't see how amazing that is and how valiant that is, and not fight for that particular person, then I really don't want anything to do with you. Because if you're not understanding that process, then you're in our way, as Steve is saying.
Exactly.
Stephen Gore, it's either you're with us or you're in our fucking way. Okay, because if you're in our way, then we're going to eat you up too. We're the fucking fire ants, and we're coming after. We're going to bite you.
Stevie, your mic's muted.
Okay. Yeah, that is such I mean, this is supposed to be a professional, right? A professional
So a
journalist,
career
right?
journalist, from what we see
Yeah,
here,
and
cares
to
more about his
act
career.
like uh an internet troll, like walls, I'm gonna let a man rot in prison because schooled you, lib, like what is that? You're supposed to be a professional. You won't even fight for, and this is why you don't see anybody in mainstream media really sticking their necks out for Assange, because they don't think that they're in the same boat, and they're right. They aren't. They don't do the same job. They should be. They call themselves the same, labels. They call themselves, truth tellers and journalists and reporters, but they don't do any of that. That's why they're not. They don't see this as a threat, and so what we have to do is, I think, be, because look, he's just a guy. He's not some saint or special person. Like, he's just a human being with flaws and everything else, right? But he's still, something in him was able to do the right thing, the hard, difficult thing, to stand there and be tortured and imprisoned for 10 years. And that's the thing. He's not special, though, but he did something that nobody else is doing, or hardly anybody else is doing. I mean, not that he's the only, political prisoner, or, journalist, or whatever you want to call him, that's being, tortured or imprisoned. But yeah, I mean, so what happens when they take somebody down like that is you have two more people do that, what he's doing, right? And if you take them down, then two more people step up. So by doing this, they're only creating more people like Julian Assange. So that's how I see him getting out. Is more and more and more of us have to do that. That's what the whole "We Are All Assange" thing is about. Like, we're all just trying to communicate and make the best decisions with the best information possible. And how can we do that when we have criminals running everything? And then, it's bizarro world, because you've got war criminals dancing with Ellen, and truth tellers in prison. Like, this cannot be how we do things. we cannot just say like it's okay to lock up people for doing nothing wrong. Like that's not that. I mean, that means that this could happen to you or me or anybody watching this. You know, if you have a conversation with somebody and you're giving information, I mean, like they could just lock you up because they don't like you because you threatened them. You know, so I get a little heated about it, but yeah, it's something that's super important is to have somebody like that just kind of like, you know, use it as a terrible punchline is, I mean, that just shows what kind of people are in charge of, you know, giving out the truth and information.
People like him should know better. He should be at the front lines protesting for this, like how the Action for Assange crew is doing, like how Misty Winston is doing, like how Combo Couch is doing. Everybody else who showed up, like Kim Iverson, Ron Placono showed up. And people who are covering the protests, at least. Like if you can't make it to any of the protests and you're a journalist or you have a show, that at least cover it. But we see here he's a careerist. He's a careerist. He said the other day that, like, in response to Aaron Monte for why he's not covering Russiagate is because it's boring. Like, we see that he's not a serious person and he deserves to be exposed. Especially when he belittles people like Misty Winston who are organizing, who are trying to inform people about what's going on and the urgency of it. And you guys all brought up excellent points for why this is so urgent. But yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. And if people like him are going to be doing that, these synthetic leftists like Ken Klippenstein, then we're going to expose that because we can't afford more people to be misguided. Ken Klippenstein, the mask is off for you.
I fucking see you, Ken.
Like, get out of the way.
God, that's so. I mean, there's no self-awareness there to say like, oh, I probably shouldn't say this out loud. I'm going to look like a total asshole. No self-awareness.